All right, Agatha All Along. I'm going to give you my pure, raw, unfiltered thoughts on the series as a whole. If you caught my original review on the first two episodes, you probably think that I didn't like this show. That's because I did not like the first two episodes of Agatha All Along. The first episode, to this point in time right now, I still think it was a waste of time, or it could have been shortened by a lot and they could have gotten into everything a lot quicker. The first episode is really nothing like what the rest of the show sets up to be, right? It's not really a setup. We all knew she was in the hex. We knew she was under Wanda's spell still. We knew it wasn't real. So I'm sitting there the whole entire time going like, this is kind of a waste of time because I know it's not real. Yeah, they're introducing Teen and they're introducing some other things, but for the most part, I'm like, okay, just break out of the spell and let's get into it. In fact, my sister, when she started watching episode one, because I told her to watch the show, she texted me and she was like, oh, I actually really like kind of detective shows like this. I'm like, that's cool. That's not what this is going to be like at all. It is not a detective show. But that just kind of goes to my point. It is completely different episode one than it is at the end of episode one, episode two, and so on and so forth, the rest of the show. So episode one didn't really hit me the right way. I was kind of bored. I thought it was kind of pointless. The ending was good. I liked when Rio showed up, and I liked Teen's character. We obviously knew, well, I knew the whole entire time that he was Billy, just based off of the rumors and reports that we heard. Episode two, I thought was still pretty slow as they go and they're trying to find the coven. Thought it was pretty slow. I got more interested though, and by the end, when they started to sing The Witch's Road, which is a song that it just lives rent free in my head right now. I love it. I thought, okay, the show has moments of greatness in it. It can get better to me, right? Some people might have liked the first two episodes, loved them. Good for you guys. To me, it just wasn't it. But then by the third episode, we got into it and I thought, you know what? I really like it. I've stayed open, right? I didn't like write it off after the first two episodes. I hoped that it would get better, and it did. And then by the time we got into episode 4, 5, and beyond, where we got a lot of things like, oh, Rio is probably death, right? Things like that. And then you talk about Agatha, the Mephisto name drop. It's like, okay, well, what's her backstory? Where's the reveal that Teen is really Billy Maximoff? It all got really, really intriguing. And I must say, I'll just say this right away. There are some specific things I want to talk about that are important, I believe, but I'll say right away, just like bravo to the entire cast, really, because the cast did an incredible job with the characters that they were given. I actually think that Joe, for playing Teen/Billy, should get an Emmy for this. I think he did an amazing job. The same thing goes with Catherine Hahn. Like, Agatha's such a great character. I was worried that a show about a side character that wasn't so popular or big might not work, especially because this character is really different than the comic version of her character. But it freaking worked. It really did. Like, and I'm so happy that it worked because I really like Catherine Hahn as an actress. I think she's great. The whole cast did an amazing job, like really. And kudos to the people who wrote this story and Jack Schaefer for directing it. Like, incredibly well done, incredibly written, and everybody just kind of crushed it with their roles. Now, getting into some specific things. Also, I should mention spoilers. If you haven't seen it all or the ending, we are going to talk spoilers right now. So if you want to avoid those, you should probably click away. But there's a lot of really important things that really got me. And the first thing is Agatha and her son. I didn't expect it to hit me that hard. So in episode 8, second to last episode, where she's helping Billy get his brother into a body, basically helping him reincarnate his brother. And he's like, am I killing this boy to bring my brother to life? And he disappears and she's like, no, sometimes boys die. And I'm just like, wow, that hit me really hard. Because by this time, you start to get the idea, and and Agatha and Rio had the conversation where Rio's like, why do you let them believe that about you? And she's like, it's better than the truth. So you kind of get the idea that's like, okay, Agatha didn't trade her son to Mephisto for the Darkhold. I still want to know how she got the Darkhold, and I'm really glad that she is continuing on as a ghost, which is very comic accurate, because in the comics, she's actually a mentor to Wanda down the Witch's Road, and Agatha is a ghost during that. So I like how they're playing this here, but you kind of got the feeling that Agatha didn't do anything to her son, that perhaps he just died. And then that's what she says. And she gets really, really emotional about it. Through that, though, the life comes basically kind of showing us again like the cycle, right? And that's the big thing about death, right? Like it's all a part of a balance, it's all a part of a cycle. And so through death came life. And she picks out the little stem, and from that comes life. So it's kind of like through the death of her son came life, and almost a little bit of healing for her. Obviously not full healing, because she became a ghost at the end, and she, doesn't want to go kind of face her son yet. But I mean, death kind of did her a favor, which was another really cool part of the story, the relationship, the love relationship between her and death. I thought that was really, really good. And I thought they navigated it in a really, really intricate way that kept us wondering while still giving us just like a little bit here and there. Like in one of the middle episodes where Death says, I have a scar. Agatha's like, no, you don't. And she's like, yeah, I do. I had to do something that I didn't want to do, but because it was my job, I had to, and I hurt somebody. So obviously that's going all the way to the 9th episode, where Death, who was in a relationship with Agatha at the time, because Agatha says, my love, she says, please, my love, don't take him. That part was really emotional too, because Aubrey Plaza's acting was so on point, like the way her face was looking, and she's just kind of like, her lips are quivering, and you can tell in her eyes like she's holding it all back. She comes for the sun, and she like it's her job. Like she is the cosmic entity Death. And as she explains in episode 8, she's necessary, right? It's balance. She's not evil. It just is how it is. It's how life is. Life ends with death, and then there's a cycle. So you could tell she really didn't want to do it, which adds just like a whole other layer to it. When it's like they're in a relationship, they love each other, but she has to take her son. And she even says in episode 8, like, I gave you special treatment that no one else has gotten before. She delayed the death of her son. He was basically supposed to be a stillborn, but she at least gave him 6 years. So, I mean, that right there was pretty great. Like they really hit you a lot with the emotion. And then to reveal that everything was made by Billy Maximoff via the same powers, reality warping powers that the Scarlet Witch has, and that the entire Witch's Road was made by him, brought into reality. Bravo. Like, bravo, because that is an incredibly well-written story. Now, in the comics, the Witch's Road is real. Like I mentioned, Agatha, as a ghost, helps Wanda go down the Witch's Road. So I wasn't really expecting that. It really wasn't. And if you go back, and I've gone back and I've like looked for certain things, if you go back, you can tell, and they kind of show you at the end there too, you can tell that Agatha knows, which is really cool. So I think it's really awesome that they didn't change much or have to change much with this entire series. Like while they wrote it, everything was written into this, right? So like when they wrote episode 1, they knew how it was going to end. So they wrote Agatha doing these little tiny things to show us that she knew it wasn't real. And the whole entire time I was like, I feel like Agatha's never been down the road. I feel like she's lying. But I never thought for a second that the Witch's Road wasn't actually real. I just thought that she had never been down it. But they did a really good job at showing us, like the entire time, Agatha knew that it wasn't real. She knew it was Billy. And, she says things like, you were so much like your mother. And like, they showed it. She's like, this is so dramatic. You must be a Maximoff. Otherwise it wouldn't be this dramatic. So I think that was incredibly well done. All of the other characters, I think just the homage they paid to them and their stories was awesome. I'm still mad about Alice. I really didn't want her to die, and I didn't want Miss Davis to die either, because I love Deborah Jo Rupp. But I mean, stakes, right? Like, people are always complaining, like, we got to have stakes. Like, yeah, they died. They really died. And I just got to say, they handled the reveal of death really well. Like, it was awesome. The little things they put in there, like when they were doing the Ouija board and they're like, who's with us? Death. Death. And she just like laughs. I was like, okay, like you just solidified in my mind that she is death, but they didn't give it to us right away. They didn't reveal it. And then when they finally did, it was really cool. Like that, the half skeleton on her face. And the final fight was awesome. When Billy comes in as technically now Wiccan, right? A superhero name. I was like, this has to be one of the coolest MCU scenes that I've seen. I really loved it. Like literally, and I was just, watching it by myself here at the computer. When I was watching it, I audibly was like, oh my gosh, that is awesome. Right there. That is an epic scene. And the way Agatha died, literal kiss of death, that's pretty epic. And then to have her come back as a ghost, really clever, really good play on her being a ghost in the comics. Now she can come back to life. Marvel Comics does that a lot. Who knows what they're going to do with the MCU? But I am really looking forward to her and Billy going to find his brother, Speed. That I'm pretty sure is leading to a reunion for the Maximoff family. So not only did this show just really stand on its own, and if I'm ranking it, it's probably my third favorite MCU show now. Loki, WandaVision, they're like really close, but Loki, WandaVision, and Agatha, they're all like, if I rated Loki as a 10, I'd rate WandaVision as a 9.9 and Agatha as like a 9.8. Because although the first two episodes were a miss for me, everything else was awesome. And they actually nailed the landing. Like, I think the landing was pretty perfect. I think the show is really entertaining. I think it was really emotional, which I didn't expect too much, but it also was pretty mysterious. It kept you guessing. It did reveal things along the way that really kept you in it and made you want more. And then when they just revealed everything at the end, it was just fantastic. Although the one thing that they did not reveal, that they intentionally just messed with us about, is whether or not the Scarlet Witch is alive or not. Like, literally, when that one episode where Billy's like, is Wanda Maximoff the Scarlet Witch? Is she really dead? Agatha's like, yes. And she's like dead serious for a second. And in my mind, I was like, oh man. I was like, did they really just like tell us she's dead? But then she's like, no. I'm like, whoa, what? And she's like, maybe. I don't know. And she's, she says, like, if you want a straight answer, ask a straight lady. And I was like, they're just screwing with us, man. Like, they know we want to know this answer. But I think this all leads to a Scarlet Witch reunion with her sons and probably Vision, since we're getting Vision Quest as well. But overall, I did not expect this show to be as good as it was. Like, seriously, watching the first two episodes when I did that review, just on those two episodes alone, that's why I was like, hey, I don't know, the show might be a miss. It depends on what the rest of the episodes are going to be like, because we knew it was 9 episodes, right? So I knew 7 episodes were left. I stayed open. I'm so glad I did. It ended up being one of my favorite shows just ever. Top 3 in the MCU. Probably, top some. I can't rank it, but one of my favorite shows just in general, not even just in the MCU. I really had a great time with this. It was a show that, like, I legitimately was bummed when I'd have to wait a week to see what happens next. And I haven't felt that way in a long time. This show and The Penguin have done that, and I haven't felt this in a long time. If you haven't watched The Penguin, you should watch that as well. But this show was amazing. Let me know what you thought about it. I loved it. I think it's one of the best things MCU has done in a very long time, and I hope we see more of this story, whether it's during the multiverse saga or after it. So let me know, what did you think of it? Did you like it? I also want to know, did you like the first 2 episodes or not? Were you like me, or were you in it the entire time, or were you never in it and you didn't actually like it? Please let me know. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel, and I will catch you all in the next video. Woof woof.